Hello, I'm Andrea Goodman. Our guest today is Susan Darrow, the CEO of the Music Together program for early childhood music and movement for children from birth through age 8, and the grown-ups who love them. First offered in 1987, its music classes help little ones develop their innate musicality and much, much more. Music Together's teaching methods help young children grow up to be the best music lovers and musicians that help to feed choruses and orchestras the world over. So, good morning, Susan. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Good morning.
So, Music Together. People may ask who are following these series of videos because we're mostly choral musicians. This is an early childhood program. So, what does it have to do with today's choral singers or those who become professionals, choral singers or instrumentalists? Either way, maybe you can tell us what your thinking was when you started Music Together and how it would impact the world of professional or even avocational singers, conductors, and instrumentalists going forward.
Sure. It was actually more than 30 years ago. Ken Gilmartin, who's the founder of Music Together, began to recognize a concerning trend. Ken was a longtime musician and composer and piano teacher. And he was noticing in his piano students that were coming for lessons, how many of them couldn't keep a steady beat or couldn't audiate a simple melody line. So he began wondering, how can we support children early on so that by the time they do start piano or violin lessons, they're likely to be more successful? And the answer was, of course, in early childhood. So he partnered with Dr. Lily Levinowitz, who is a national authority on early childhood music, and together they developed the Music Together curriculum. They recognized that they would have to look beyond accepted music education practices and look to the fields of child development and neuroscience and even psychology. And as a result, a new way of teaching music to very, very young children was born. I mean, you can't teach a 1-year-old the notes on the staff, right? So I will say the two key learnings that came from that time were, first, children need to learn through play. In other words, non-formal learning experiences, no expectations for performance or achievement. The other key component was the involvement of parents. We realized that when we're talking about children that young, we need to have parent participation in the process, because young children are pre-wired to learn from the people with whom they have an emotional connection. So, no matter how much my students might love me, they won't learn as much from me, the teacher they see once a week, as they will from the important adults they see every day. So that's actually the origins of the name of the program, Music Together. It's why it's not Music with Susan. It's the together part that's so important, because because of the age that we're dealing with, birth through age 8.
Well, that's wonderful. And of course, in full disclosure, I still have all my books. I know that you've updated it since then, but for Music
We
Together.
have, I'll just show you we have a whole new series of, they're a little more child friendly than the other ones, even though the other ones were beautiful, but these are, each page is a song, and they have these beautiful illustrations. And so it's great to see those. We call those the legacy materials.
Well, I could see now that they're also geared to having the child look at them,
Yeah.
which I remember when my son was going through the program, he always wanted to see the notes. He wanted to see the pictures. And now you seem to accomplish that. Plus, we had all CDs that went with every book. Do you still do that?
We still do. There's a CD and a songbook for every collection, but we also have a download code that's in the songbook, so that a lot of people don't even have CD players anymore.
Right.
And so we have a download code, so you can download the music via our app and have it in any device that you want then.
Right. Well, because the major part of the listening, of course, is when the infant's in the car. And, you put that on immediately. It's not even a question. And they're singing along in the back seat, and it's just the most wonderful thing.
Yeah, we've been told by many parents that our CDs and our music has saved them on long trips.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
And I also have to say, of course, that as I've been teaching a long time music from for children 3 to 5, and our best students were always children who had come through the program. They were the most attentive. They all matched pitch immediately, the rhythm, and instantly fell in love with it, especially because I use all the songs from the program. And so they recognized these things and their eyes would light up. So it's just a wonderful experience. And even in my neighborhood, it's still going on strong, more than one. And I'm in New England, I'm in the Berkshires, and there's at least 5 or 6 right here within 20 minutes of my house, and everybody does it. There's no question. It's the thing to do. So you said there was a niche to fill because you didn't see this available anywhere else. And so is the basic philosophy, is it have to do with teach them to match pitch and rhythm early? Or I know you said to have fun, which is certainly part of it. But.
Yeah, well, when Music Together first started more than 30 years ago, there were no programs for children very, very young. There was nothing, certainly nothing that started at birth. And here's why that's so important. We've learned that the most important window of opportunity for music learning is the time from birth to age 5 years. And that's way earlier than most people think music education should begin. But the research is really clear that it suggests children learn music when they're young. Children learn music in the same way they learn their native language, through immersion. So it starts at birth, not in first grade, when most music lessons typically begin. And here's an analogy with language. We know, think about if you wait till your child's 10 years old to start teaching her French, let's say, a second language. It's going to be hard. It's going to be work. On the other hand, if you immerse her in a bilingual environment from the time she's born, she can easily grow up learning both languages. Well, music for young children is like a language, especially when they're young. So if we immerse a child in a rich music environment from the time they're born, they can learn to be, I guess I would say, fluent in the language of music pretty effortlessly. And all we have to do is provide the environment. And then you asked about the basic philosophy. Music Together is based on the simple, but I think groundbreaking idea that all children are born musical. That does not mean they will all grow up to be the next Yo-Yo Ma. It does mean that everyone is born with the right equipment to be music makers. We have a voice for singing, we have a body for moving, and we have a brain for learning. And with those 3 key ingredients, you kind of have the recipe for a future music maker. And that's really our goal. We believe it's everyone's birthright to be able to participate in the music of their culture. And think how different that way of thinking is to what we typically think of as being a musician. Most people think being a musician means you're really good at it and you do it better than most other people. That's the performance orientation. And that was born out of the history of how our relationship with music has evolved. All through human history, music was something that everybody did. Not because we were good at it, but because it was fun. Well, all that changed when we found recorded music and media. And once we had recorded music, then we were all faced with this impossible standard that we measure ourselves against. And we realized, oh, if you don't sing like Christina Aguilera, your job is to just sit in the audience and listen. And we shifted from being a culture of music makers to being a culture of music consumers. And our program, Music Together, is committed to returning music to the non-professionals, to all the families who really need it and maybe have lost it because of the performance orientation.
Well, speaking of one's own culture, I think one of the best features of the program too is that your songbooks have music with lyrics in all languages, and many languages, not every language, but French and Spanish and Italian, and that's just wonderful because obviously the child lights up when they hear their own, if they're not a native English speaker at home or the parents are speaking another language, to be able to hear that. Now that's something really interesting. Can you talk about how that was the criteria in the beginning?
Yeah, it was really because so much of children's music, especially in this country, is one-dimensional. And it's therefore, I mean, I don't know about you, but it's pretty intolerable for most grownups to listen to. In the US, Most children's music is written in a major scale. It's written in duple meter. And unfortunately, providing songs just in major duple doesn't provide children with a rich foundation of music. So one of the things I personally fell in love with about Music Together was the quality of the music itself. It's a combination of traditional songs, original songs, and then, as you said, music from countries around the world, different meters, different tonalities. It's rich ear food, so to speak. And I actually think the grown-ups love it as much as the children. Also, because Ken is a professional composer, the music is sophisticated. Just because it's for young children doesn't mean it needed to be dumbed down in any way.
Oh, I know. I enjoyed it myself. I used to go from rehearsals of Just Gown to She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain, and I don't know which one I enjoyed more actually at the time. So that was fun. And plus, you know, at that age, parents are looking for a bonding experience with their children. They're home anyway, and or parents or caregivers. Some would actually come with their nannies, or and some with lucky enough to come with a parent. So it really was special. And to this day, our best friends are my son's best friends are the ones he met in the program, and even my friends are the ones I met in the program, and all these many years ago. So that's a wonderful thing. It's a real sense of community.
Yeah, it sure is. I agree.
So you've expanded then to include older children, or maybe even programs for special needs students, anything like that?
Children, well, let me talk about that first. Children with special needs integrate very easily into our typical mixed age classes. Most of our classes are, we call them mixed ages, which means they're for children from birth to age 5, and everybody participates in the same class. Now you might wonder, how in the world does a 1-month-old or a 1-month-old or a 1-year-old participate in the same class with a 4-year-old? Well, the reason that works is the interaction is not between the children, it's between the parent and the child, or the caregiver and the child. So if I'm a parent with a 1-year-old or a 1-month-old, I'm going to be interacting very differently than the parent sitting next to me who has a 4-year-old. It's a more challenging way to teach, I would say, but it's richer because of the mixed age environment. It's built on the same traditional educational model as Montessori, where children, it's like a family model. In a family, you don't have everybody the same age. In a Music Together class, you don't have everybody the same age. You have different generations even, and different ages of children. And everybody's learning at their own pace, in their own way, based on the stage and age that they are at. So when we have children with special needs, we integrate them very easily into that environment because there's no expectations of what they should or shouldn't be doing. We help the parent adapt whatever the teacher is doing to work with that child. And then you asked about older children. We have a program called Rhythm Kids, which is for 5, 6, 7-year-olds. And it's mostly without parents. It's mostly a drop-off program. And it's a combination of singing, drumming, and dancing. And the drumming is, we use djembe drums. So they're African drums. And the children learn different rhythms from around the world. It's very multicultural. The music in that program is very multicultural. And they're learning rhythms from around the world. They're learning how you sing with those rhythms, how you chant with those rhythms, play the drum, and then also how you move to those rhythms. That's been that's a new program. It's only launched a couple of years ago, and it's really taken off. That, and then we have a babies, I think of them as bookends, because that's the older children in our age range, the 6, 7, 8, or 5, 6, 7-year-olds. Then we have another program that's just for infants, birth to age 8 months. And yes, we have a class for birth to 8 months. And I know people go, what? How do you teach music to a 2-month-old? But believe it or not, it's an incredibly rich experience. And our research preparing for that curriculum has taught us how much babies respond to music. Most people have no clue how much infants actually respond tonally and rhythmically to the music in their environment. And that's one of the things we educate the parents about in that class.
Oh, that's wonderful. I seem to remember also, maybe you could talk now about what goes on in a typical class. I remember scarves and ukuleles and drums. Maybe you can take us through a typical class, because would really be interested in knowing about the movement aspect of it. And I know that that all is related to the materials in the room. So can you talk about that?
Sure. The structure of the class is it's a once a week, usually 45 minutes. And I'm saying that usually because now that we're online, classes are a little different than they were when we do in-person classes. But in a typical non-COVID year, the classes are 45 minutes once a week. You work through one particular song collection, one book of songs, basically. And for 10 weeks, you play with the different songs in different ways. The teacher leads you through a series of small movement songs, finger plays, chants, sometimes a lap song where you're bouncing your child on your lap and moving them in certain ways. And then a lot of large movement where we're dancing with scarves, or even just a circle dance with the other grown-ups and children in the room. And then you just mentioned percussion instruments. We don't use any wind instruments for maybe obvious reasons, safe, in terms of germs, but we have plenty of percussion instruments, shakers and drums and rhythm sticks. And it's all developmentally appropriate in that we have no expectations of what the children will do. A lot of times, here's what a child does in a music together class. And they'll do that for 45 minutes sometimes, drives parents crazy sometimes. But when they go home, they do all the songs. That's a typical, thing to happen is and we think of it as when they're in class, they're absorbing or they're on record. And then you go home and you push play and it all comes out. And so that's the key to the way our teaching approach is. We don't expect the children to do anything. We think of the parent as our primary student in a music together class, because again, think about it. I only have that child once a week for 45 minutes. That's one little part of their learning. Most of the learning for that child will happen in all the other hours that week. So my job in 45 minutes is to teach the parent how to be musical when I'm not around. And so that's the key to the approach. We think of it, if it were just a 45-minute class, well, that's nice. That's just a fun class. What we're providing is a music education. And music education means it happens all week long, not just once a week.
You're also providing really good repertoire for the parents to sing to the kids, because many of us reach parenthood and we can't remember the songs that we knew as children. And so we start singing jingles from commercials or Carpenter songs or something like that. And so all of a sudden we can think back and oh yeah, I did Oh Susanna, I can sing Oh Susanna, and there are the words. And so that's really wonderful. So now, how does one become a music together teacher if somebody should decide they want to do this now under, let's say, circumstances where you'll be back in the classroom or back in the community center? How does one go about it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say even if you want to start teaching online classes, you can start doing that. We're launching an online teacher training starting in January, and you can start classes in your community. You can also, there's another way to do it where you actually get hired by a music together center in your community. That would be one way to do it. But if there's no music together in your area and you want to start classes, we would help you do that. And if you go to our website, musictogether.com, and just click on start classes or classes, there's a whole bunch of links there that you can see, and we'll talk you through the process. It's a lot simpler than you might think. It's one of the things I so appreciated about the way Ken set up this business. He set it up so that non-business people could start a little music business. And I'm the perfect example of that. My background is theater and education. And so coming to this and starting my own Music Together Center, I never thought of myself as a business person, but it was easy because of the way they made it easy. And they don't assume you have a business background. So they've made it super simple. And that our idea, we think of ourselves as Johnny Appleseeds. We're trying to plant music seeds all over the world and get families started on a musical path when their children are young.
So can you talk about how the jump was made from just a few centers in the United States to all of a sudden now it's all over the world? What are some other countries where Music Together is teaching?
We are in over 40 countries now, and it's been such a joy in my life because I've been with Music Together since the very beginning, and it was a local grassroots Central New Jersey based mom and pop kind of organization, and watching it grow over the past 25, 30 years has been incredible, mostly through word of mouth. So I would say the first 15, 20 years almost of our real growth has happened more organically than anything else. Somebody telling a friend about it or telling somebody who they think might be a good teacher. We now that we're in multiple countries, and how that works, just to be clear, everybody all over the world right now is doing the same song collection. So the families in Turkey are singing the same songs that we sing in my Pennsylvania class, or the same songs that they're singing in Sydney, Australia, and the same songs they're singing in Tokyo, same songs they're singing in Taiwan. All over the world, everybody's singing the same songs. What we invite the teacher to do is adapt them for the language of the families in their class. Most of our songs are so simple that they're easily adapted. If you want to make up a verse in Chinese, or if you want to make up a verse in Italian, if you want to make up a verse, in a different language, it's easy to do that. We also have a lot of
words, right? There's some.
I was just going to say, you do know the program. We have songs without words, which I affectionately call doo-doo songs. Those are songs that are just sung on syllables, la 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 or do do do, and those obviously don't have language in them, so they are easily kind of translated into other languages or other cultures. It makes the world feel small to me, and it's very joyful when I think about everybody all over the world singing the same songs, having the same music experiences.
Do you ever hear from any of those parents or teachers from Thailand or some other place?
Yes, and in fact, I'm also a teacher trainer, so I travel all around the world doing trainings when we were doing live trainings. And I will tell you a quick story. The first training I ever did in China, it's the first time I'd ever been to China at all. And I was doing a teacher training in Beijing, and they didn't know anything about music together. And in our teacher trainings, we do live demo classes. So we invite families in that neighborhood to come and do a demo class so that all the teachers who are training can see what a real class looks like live. So we invited these Chinese families to come. I speak not one word of Chinese. Right. These families did not speak much English at all. They all walked in, and what the families did is they put their children, these 1 and 2 year olds, right in front of me and left. And I said, wait a minute, come back, you gotta come back, and I had a translator, of course. And so I said, no, you have to participate with me, do the songs with me. And I took them through a whole class, and I was in tears at the end of it because I couldn't believe how easily it worked, even in a culture that's so different and with a language that was completely different than, in other words, they didn't understand me and I didn't understand them, but we all spoke the language of music, and that was so gratifying and surprising to me.
No, that's just such a great story, because it's so heartwarming to hear. At some point, we'd like to, as conductors, ask our singers, who's been to Music Together when they were 3 now, because it's been around long enough that, by now you have a whole bevy of choral singers and instrumentalists who've been through the program when they were that age. And it would be amazing to find out. I bet it's greater than you can ever imagine. We live right by Tanglewood, and the members of the orchestra now, from the high school to the Tanglewood Music Center Orchestra, I bet there's just a huge percentage of them that have definitely done this and think back fondly of those days. So in parting, is there some other last thing you would want to communicate to everybody? Clearly, one thing though, I'll have every link to all your websites in the details on the show, so nobody should have any problem finding you. And and the books. And can a person buy them even if they're not in the program?
We have a couple of retail products that you can go to our website and buy them on our store. They're called Family Favorites, and there's a Family Favorites 1 and a Family Favorites 2, and they're basically compilation albums of all the different collections, songs that are chosen because they are particularly popular with families. And so if you just want to have a sampling of our music, that would be one way to go. The other way to go is to download our app. The app is called Hello Everybody, and it's free, and it comes with 8 songs preloaded. So, and then you could also purchase. There's other things to purchase once you get into the app, but it's the app itself is really a music player, and it allows you to play the songs. It also has a karaoke function, so you can sing the songs on karaoke and have just the instrumental version, and then the words come up on the screen. It's super fun for the parents. So yeah, I would say in terms of parting words, we're in this really tough time right now, and I think music is more important than ever. We made the shift to online classes back in March, and they're going along swimmingly now. And I think I keep telling our teachers this, we're providing something, we've always provided something vital. Right now, as much as parents are stressed and families are stressed and everybody has anxiety about the future, we're providing something even more important, and that's peace of mind for even half an hour or 45 minutes once a week. I had a mom who said to me the other day, we have an online class. She said, I know I have a half an hour once a week where I don't have to be the cruise director. I don't have to figure out what my kids are doing. I don't have to make their assignments. I don't have to do, and that so resonated with me, because I have such empathy for parents right now, especially with little kids at home. It must be exhausting and stressful. And so music together can really help just to break that tension and give you something really fun and meaningful to do every week with your children.
Oh, that's great. I have to also say that clearly it's enriched my life. I can't even imagine, much like Bach, what my life would be without music together, both as a teacher and a mom. And so I want to thank you very much for participating with us today. And I look forward to many more years, maybe even with my grandchildren, of music together. I'm sure it'll still be around for a long, long time. Thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
If you like this video, just click the button below to subscribe, and thanks for watching.